Good evening. My name is Kate Mendenhall. I'm the Executive Director of the Organic Farmers Association. Welcome to our 2021 annual meeting on March 9th. I appreciate everyone coming. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces on Zoom. I'm going to hand the program over to the OFA President, Dave Colson, and he's going to give an introduction. Thank you.
Organic Farmers Association officially launched in the fall of 2016 with the generous support of the Rodale Institute as fiscal sponsor. During the past 4 years, OFA has established itself as a strong voice for organic farmers on the national stage. Today, OFA is an independent farmer-led organization functioning as a 501c5 nonprofit organization. We are extremely grateful for the ongoing support of the Rodale Institute and look forward to continuing our relationship and common goal of an organic farmer-led policy voice. OFA functions with two parallel committees, the Governing Council and the Policy Committee. Members of both of these deliberative bodies are chosen through a nomination and election process open to all OFA members. We will have more about the Governing Council and Policy Committee as well as our policy process later in the program, or you can go to our website, organicfarmersassociation.org, for more information. Today, I want to give a big thank you to the exiting members of both committees and to welcome our new members. On the Governing Council, from the Western Region, Farmer Representative Nate Powell-Palm of Cold Springs Organics will be leaving, and Lindley Dixon of Adobe House Farm will be joining. From the Southern Region, Farmer Representative Loretta Anderson of Adderson's Fresh Produce will be leaving, and Sean Peebles of Sean Peebles Organic Farm will be joining. From the Northeast Region, Farmer Representative Mary Rose Livingston of Northland Sheep Dairy will be leaving, and Eve Kaplan Walbrecht of Garden of Eve Organic Farming will be joining. On the Policy Committee from the Western Region, Farmer Representative Nate Lewis of Oyster Bay Farm will be leaving, and Nate Powell-Palm of Cold Springs Organics will be joining. From the Western Region Organizational Representative Cara Loritz of Organic Seed Alliance will be leaving, and Melissa Spear of Tilth Alliance will be joining. And from the Southern Region, Organizational Representative Michael Sly, formerly of RAFI and an original steering committee member, will be leaving, and Roland McReynolds of Carolina Farm Stewardship Association will be joining. Please join me in thanking our outgoing members for their service and welcoming our new committee members. And not to forget to thank you to all of the OFA committee members continuing in their work in 2021. I look forward to working with all of you. I also want to make sure to thank Pryor Garnett of Garnett's Red Prairie Farm for his leadership as chair of the Policy Committee, and our fantastic staff, Kate Mendenhall and Patty Lavera, for all their hard work and education. Our work would not be possible without you. Finally, thanks to all our members who care so much about the future of organic agriculture. It's truly inspiring meeting members from around the country, and we're humbled to be able to represent your voices in Washington, D.C. and beyond. Thank you for supporting a truly representative organic farmer voice in U.S. farm policy. I'll now turn the program over to Executive Director Kate Mendenhall for an overview of OFA's work in 2020 and what we have planned for 2021.
Thank you so much, Dave. Let's see, hopefully I can share my screen without everything shutting down again. Can you see that? You're not? Okay, great. And is that, I know I can make it bigger perhaps, hopefully that's still, can you still see that? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the head nods. Well, it's so nice to see so many friendly faces and people I have not seen in so long. So thank you all for making time today to come. I know that the weather is nice and one more Zoom meeting is not what you would probably love to be doing right now, but it is. I really appreciate you making time to hear a little bit about Organic Farmers Association, our work last year, and what we have in planned for 2021, and to hear a great message from our special guest, Senator Jon Tester. I'm really excited to hear what he has to share with us later this evening. So there we go. So I wanted to start by just making sure that everyone's really familiar with who Organic Farmers Association is. We were started, as Dave said, in late 2016, early 2017 to be a strong voice for certified organic farmers in the United States. And we truly are farmers. We're farmers from the ground up, and that is the center of everything we do. We are the national voice for certified organic farmers. So how do we work? We are farmer-led. We do work closely with state and regional and national organic farmers organizations, but at the end of the day, farmers are our favorites, and they are the ones who lead all of our decisions and set our policy priorities and our positions, and their voice is the one we are representing at the national level. So it's your voices we are bringing forward to DC, and you are the one setting our work agenda. We created Organic Farmers Association as a collective of organic farm organizations and certified organic farmers. One thing that was really important to us was that all farmers, no matter size, no matter commodity, had an equal voice at the table. And so we have a strong policy that's one farm, one vote. And so every farm has the same power to help set our policies. We also do a very wide sweep every year of asking certified organic farmers who are not even members of Organic Farmers Association to weigh in. So we have a very wide sweep that's rooted in certified organic farmers' voices. If you are able to mute, let's just make sure we're all doing that, because we have so many people on. I think that will just help everyone's ability to hear better. We have 3 membership options: certified organic farmers, of course, supporter members, and organization members. So our supporter members are international certified organic farmers. They are there are farmers who are not certified organic, and they are consumers and gardeners. And then our organization members are typically state or regional organic farm organizations. Both of those 2 membership types have a voice at different parts of our policy making, but at the end of the day, only certified organic farmers have a voice and a vote, both in our policy direction, but also in our leadership. And that was a very intentional decision to make sure that everything we do is really coming from certified organic farmers. So we have a sliding scale membership, making sure that everyone, no matter what your budget, can afford to join OFA. What's most important to us is that people are getting involved and joining. And so if you're not currently a member, I really encourage you to join. Policy is our priority. This is a really nice picture from last year when we were able to be in Washington, DC together. We were created to be this strong policy voice representing certified organic farmers in Washington, DC. Policy impacts everything we do as organic farmers. And now we have a voice. So I wanted to spend a little time specifically going over what we accomplished last year. Every year we run elections for our leadership. So again, we ran those in 2020 in the fall for our 2021 elections. We became an independent nonprofit under 501c5 status. That took a lot of work. We were really happy to have that come through and have our independent status. And then we also signed a fiscal sponsorship agreement, again, with Rodale Institute for our charitable work. So that expands our ability to fund different types of our work and continue our partnership with Rodale. Some of our policy accomplishments were we hired Patty Lavera as our policy director at the very beginning of last year. She's an excellent advocate for certified organic farmers. She's been working on these issues for the last decade and is super dedicated to organic farmers. Plus, she has a lot of connections in Washington, D.C. She spends a lot of her time doing all sorts of advocacy and a small amount of her time as our specific lobbyist. So she has a breadth of knowledge, relationships, and expertise. We are very lucky to have her leading our policy program. Last year on March 10th, we held an advocacy day in Washington, D.C., where we held 55 congressional meetings. And we held our advocacy day on Tuesday, going through all of the House and Senate buildings. And then on Thursday, at the end of the day, they closed all those congressional buildings. So we felt very positive about being some of the last voices that our elected officials heard in person before the pandemic hit and shut everything down. Last year, we passed 15 new policies for our policy platform. And then we, every year, poll certified organic farmers across the whole country to establish our priorities. And in 2020, those were NOP enforcement, which includes our work on organic import fraud, organic dairy standards and enforcement. Our second was to prohibit hydroponics and organic production. Number 3 was climate change. Number 4 was to expand the USDA programs for organic support. And our 5th priority was animal welfare, giving us direction to keep working on bringing back the organic livestock and poultry practices rule. So I think one thing to note is that since we began this process in 2020, that was our 3rd year, but these priorities have been very consistent since we began. And I think that speaks to the validity of the priorities that we set. These priorities set our work agenda and how we spend our time. And they just affirm that certified organic farmers really are united in these policies. We have a couple new ones that you'll see for 2021 that we added to the list as options, but overall, those same ones have risen again for this year. So we also always participate in the National Organic Standards Board meetings. Those meetings happen in the spring and the fall of each year. And we make sure that we're representing organic farmers' priorities at those meetings. Typically, they happen at times that are really difficult for many farmers to be there in person. Now there are webinar options for people to testify online, which is great, but we make sure that there's a strong organic farmer voice. And of course, we always encourage farmers to get there in person if possible, and we're always happy to help plan for that if you'd like some guidance. But last year, some of the issues we testified on at these 2 meetings were support for paper pots, support for a 3-year transition for all types of growing operations after prohibited substance is used. So that's an issue that hits greenhouse growers as opposed to soil-grown growers. Some certifiers are not requiring a 3-year transition for greenhouse operations after prohibited substance, so we've testified on that. We oppose certification of hydroponics based on our policy position and priority. We oppose the use of fenbendazole, which is a parasiticide that was being brought forward to the board for allowance. We asked for less priority from the NOSB to be spent on biodegradable mulch. While that's a great initiative, it's not all worked out, and it was not a high priority of organic farmers. And there are so many issues that are high priority. So we were asking the NOSB to spend their volunteer time on the issues of highest importance to certified organic farmers. And then at every NOSB meeting, we always put pressure on the NOP to have greater enforcement, more accountability to promote a high integrity within the organic label. Another thing that Organic Farmers Association has been involved in has been designing the farmer panels at the National Organic Coalition's pre-NOSB meetings. So in the spring, we helped coordinate one with regional updates. And then in the fall, we coordinated a farmer panel telling pandemic stories from across the country. And those farmer panels are very well received. They receive very high marks on the evaluations. And it's a really nice way for us to bring farmer voices into that NOSB process. We, of course, always focus on USDA and Congress. And for USDA, we spent a lot of our time responding to pandemic stimulus, making sure that organic farmers were included in those packages. We pushed on origin of livestock. Congress had set a deadline for the USDA to finalize that rule in June of 2020, and they missed that deadline. So in response, we coordinated a letter to Congress asking them to put pressure on the USDA, and we had 70 organizations sign on to that letter. It did help, but we, of course, did not get origin of livestock completed last year, and so that will be another priority for this year. We helped get the word out about the strengthening organic enforcement rule, and we submitted comments on that important rule and encouraged organic farmers to submit comments as well. And then when the cost share program was announced late in August with reduced funding, it was a bit of a surprise. We scrambled and worked with other national organic groups to try to get that 50% $500 reimbursement back up to the $75, $750 levels that it always has historically been. We weren't able to succeed there, but again, that's a priority for 2021. And then a lot of these same issues came forward in Congress. In January and February, we spent some time on an immigration bill, but that was put aside when the pandemic hit, and most of our focus and the focus of Congress went towards pandemic stimulus. Origin of livestock hit Congress as well as the USDA, asking for pressure on the NOP to get that rule done. And then with the cost share program, we did a lot of action alerts asking people to call and get cost share funding restored through the 2021 appropriations or for the 2021 budget, and asking for emails, and that work continues into 2021 since it wasn't completed. We also do have quite a growing education and outreach program. A lot of the education we do is to make sure that farmers and our supporters understand the issues that farmers are dealing with that result in policy fixes. And so many of those issues are so complex that it helps to really break them down in different education pieces. So ever since we started, we've been in partnership with the Rodale Institute for an annual New Farm magazine, a print publication. That final issue went out in fall of 2020, and OFA was able to take a much broader leadership role in the editorial content of that magazine. So we really feel great about that final issue. Rodale Institute owns the rights to that magazine, and they have said they won't continue it at this point. We did 4 webinars in 2020, one on the debate of hydroponics and organic, one on how organic corn and soy imports are impacting US production, one on advocating for organic, and then an election review after the election on what the impact will be for organic. We always do a monthly e-news to all of our members. So another reason to join, keep in the loop about what we're working on and ways that you can engage. And then in 2020, we launched a national clearinghouse for organic farmer education. Especially our organization members are creating such excellent education content for their farmer members that it's a great opportunity for farmers from all over the country to have access to such a wide variety of educational opportunities. And so this National Clearinghouse, which is housed on our website, is sort of like a one-stop shop for you to go and see what educational opportunities are coming up. So there's a lot more crossover among farmers across the country. I know as an organic farmer myself, I always learn from going to conferences outside of my region. Sometimes it's just really nice to hear from a different market and get new ideas for your own home market. So looking forward to 2021, we of course are working really hard on our advocacy days. Those are scheduled for March 22 through the 25th, and we are gearing up with our packets and preparing the farmers that have signed up. We have 40 people registered to participate in our advocacy days. They'll be virtual this year, but in 2022, we hope to be back in Washington, D.C. So our members, and especially our farmer members, are always welcome to join us on those, so just keep that in mind. Right at the beginning of the year, we sent out an origin of livestock letter with our partners, National Organic Coalition, the Northeast Organic Dairy Producers Alliance and the Western Organic Dairy Producers Alliance. The 4 organizations together joined to send a letter to the USDA. We had 118 organizations and 249 farms sign on to that letter. And we've been told by the National Organic Program that that letter had a high impact in putting origin of livestock at the very top list for the Secretary of Agriculture on organic issues. And they expect to have a meeting with him soon and hopefully have some answers for us about what the timeline will be going forward in the next stage to get that rule completed by the next National Organic Standards Board meeting in April. We had a meeting with the National Organic Program just yesterday about this topic to try to see how we can help move it forward and where they are in the process. We have regular conversations with them to make sure that they're hearing from organic farmers on a regular basis. Cost share program is something we're already working on and we'll continue to work on, making sure that those payment rates get restored to the $750 per scope, 75% maximum per scope as they have historically been. Climate change is a huge priority for the Biden administration, and so we have been engaged in many of those conversations. We're also working on our policy positions to make sure we have a very clear policy position for organic farmers coming from the farmer community about how farmers want to play into these climate change programs and making sure that we're highlighting that organic farmers are a really important part of the solution. And then we're right now involved in our policy position development for 2021. So our survey closed mid-February, and at the end of this month, we shall be sending out those positions out to our members for comment and editing. So I am going to wrap this up really quickly because Senator Tester is here, and I want to make sure that we have a lot of time to hear from him. Our 2021 policy priorities are organic integrity, prohibiting hydroponics, focusing on soil production, dismantling corporate consolidation in organic. This was a new one that rose right to the top. Climate change, animal welfare, and increasing organic farmer diversity. This was another new one that rose up to the top. And so that will allow us to really put into policy a lot of our guiding principles and core values that already were a part of OFA and support growing organic farmer diversity within the community. So let's see, I'm just gonna, I guess, one slide here before our education and outreach program. If you haven't seen our digital magazine, check it out. It's on our website. It's really great. We'll have another one in June. We've already been doing webinars and participating in winter conferences. And our Clearinghouse will still be up on our website. And this year, we're also partnering with Rodale Partnership to offer BIPOC mini grants up to $2,000 for BIPOC farmers for capital improvements on their farm, or for aspiring farmers to do for a stipend to do an apprenticeship on an organic farm. So if you haven't already joined OFA, please do so. Numbers are really important. Your voice is needed at the table, and you can be as engaged as you want to be. But what's important is that we're really showing Congress that we have a lot of organic farmers a part of our association, that we are strong and that we're representative of you. So we will go ahead and move to the second part of our annual meeting, the reception. One thing I want to note is that while Senator Tester is speaking, if you have questions that you would like to ask him, please put them in the chat. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see this little speech bubble. You can click on that and put your question in, and then we'll be going through and monitoring those questions, and we will consolidate similar questions and announce them at the end. So now I will move to introduce Nate Powell-Palm. He is a member of our Organic Farmers Association Policy Committee and has served on the Governing Council since we started. He's an organic farmer at Cold Spring Farm in Montana, and he's just a real champion for organic farmers in general. He also represents you serving on the National Organic Standards Board. So we're so lucky to have him be a part of Organic Farmers Association. He is a Montana farmer and knows Senator Tester well. And so I'm going to pass the mic over to him and he will do the introductions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate. Hi, everybody. Really excited that we get the chance to hear from the senator today. I realize we are short on time, so I will speak very briefly and excitedly turn it over to the senator. Senator Tester is a third-generation farmer, farming on the same land that his grandparents homesteaded over 100 years ago outside of Big Sandy, Montana. He graduated from the University of Great Falls and currently runs T-Bone Farms with his wife, Charla. It's an 1,800-acre dryland crop operation, and he raises a fantastic diverse crop rotation from purple barley to lentils to hard red spring wheat to winter wheat and alfalfa, and has a butcher shop on his farm as well, where he was a big source of local foods before we were talking about local foods as much as we are now. I first met the senator when I was, I think, 14 or 15, and my brothers and I were knocking door to door for this guy that we just couldn't quite convince ourselves was real, this farmer who was going to just tell it like it is, and that we happened to get this fantastic Halloween outfit in 2012 where I dressed up as a senator and my brothers dressed up as his opponents for the Halloween right before the election. And it was just everything that the senator has done has been so exciting. I think as young people, we've always been able to see this as someone that we can get behind and be really excited about. But he is the senior senator from Montana. He was most recently elected in 2018. But I think more than being the senator from Montana is he is a champion and a representative for all Americans, especially rural Americans. And he has a vision for what rural America can be and fights every day to make that vision a reality. And so I think it is with no small amount of Montana pride, but also pride as an organic farmer and as an American that I welcome Senator Tester.
Hey, hey guys, tis the season of the pandemic, and hopefully this baby will be over with and we can meet in person. But it is a pleasure to visit with the Organic Farmer Association. I want to thank Nate Palpon for all the good work that he's done in the state of Montana and for that fine introduction. Look, I, like many of you, wouldn't be farming today if it wasn't for my parents and my grandparents before them. Bottom line is my grandfather came out to a little place in north central Montana, moved from the Red River Valley, if you can believe it or not, and came out to north central Montana, which is no Red River Valley. And but the grass was as tall as the belly on his horse. And he said, "This is where I'm going to settle down and drive my homestead." His father had done the same thing a generation earlier in the Red River Valley. He passed that farm, him and my grandmother passed that farm along to my folks, and my folks along to myself and Charla in 1978, my wife. And the whole time that I was growing up, though, my father and mother were teaching me about agriculture and teaching me about the right way to farm and talking about things like the advent of fertilizer, which happened during their watch when they took the farm over from 43 to 78, and how you've got to be careful because the fact of the matter is soil is a delicate thing and you don't want to screw it up, and you don't want to end up paying more money out than you're taking in. And so all that was in my head growing up. And then if you combine that with the fact that when I first took over the farm, we were spraying, and I had a Willys Jeep with a front mount Yellow Devil sprayer. And we'd go out and we'd spray for 3-4 days, and then I'd be sick for a week, have the flu. And quite honestly, knew then that somebody was trying to tell me something. And then my wife, when we seeded, we had the seed trees with Vitavax, which is a seed treatment from back in the 70s and 80s. It'd flake off a little bit of dust. She would inhale it and end up with sinus infection. So we had all sorts of folks telling us what we needed to do with that farm. And then a lady by the name of Ann Sinclair showed up on my farm one day and said, hey, look, if you're willing to do a little soil building and throw the chemicals away and convert this place to organics, and it'll take you 3 years to do it, we'll buy every bit of durum that you can raise. And I thought, geez, for the first time in my life, somebody actually wants what I'm growing. I don't have to go in and beg them to take it. I don't have to worry about them docking for everything under the moon. And so I started the transition. Charlotte and I did, and it has worked out very well. Long story short, we no longer get sick from pesticides. She no longer gets sinus infection from the Vitavax treat. We have a much stronger crop rotation than we did basically with the monoculture of winter wheat that we did before. And things have worked out rather well for us. Now, depending where you're at in this country, you might think that 1,800 acres is a big farm. And to my way of thinking, it still is a big farm. Our farm supported 2 families for nearly all of its life. But the truth is, in eastern Montana at least, the average conventional farm is over 5,000 acres. And I will tell you, it doesn't have to be this way. And it's why rural America is drying up. And it's why organic agriculture is one of the great hopes out there. But I will be honest, when I made the conversion in the 80s, I figured all my neighbors would be converted by 2000. And really, not a lot of folks have done it. And I think part of the reason is, quite honestly, is that the research in organic agriculture has been rather minimal. And the research coming out of our land-grant universities has been more focused on chemical agriculture and agribusiness than it has been on production agriculture and family farms. And so I think we need to change that moving forward. I think we need to put more money into organic research. And by the way, organic research will help everybody, not just organic farmers, but everybody, because it'll be about weed control and pest control and how we can build our soil, which a lot of us know how to do already. But there are some things that come down the pipe that we don't have the answers for, and research can help with that. Versus having the kind of research that you solve a problem by paying more money for inputs to solve a problem. That's not the direction we should be going. Let's figure out how to make production ag more profitable. Let's figure out how to make the soil more sustainable. Let's figure out also how to make our pocketbooks more sustainable. All those things go hand in hand with organic agriculture. So we need to do that. And that's where organizations like like OFA comes in. Quite frankly, you guys and your ability to make a difference on Capitol Hill is real. And you need to make sure your computers are fired up and your emails are working and your telephones are working, and call the senator or the representative that represents you and make sure that they know as often as you think it's possible to tell them how important things are in agriculture for rebuilding rural America. Look, the town I grew up in had 1,000 people in it in 1975. It's got less than 600 in it now. That story is replicated all over the United States. Rural America has dried up. I will tell you that I think organic agriculture is one of the things that can help bring people back to rural America. I want to talk about consolidation in ag because I noticed on the previous slide with the previous speaker that she talked about consolidation in organic agriculture. And that's very interesting because it's something that we were very concerned about in the late 80s and early 90s. And it's starting to happen. And we need to make sure that we don't let that happen. Consolidation in agriculture overall has made multinational ag corporations a lot of money on the backs of people, family farmers in production ag. So we need to do what we can do to make sure competition stays in the marketplace, and so that we have the ability to get the kind of money that we need to be able to stay afloat for the products we grow. We raise good products. It's not a commodity, it's food. And we need to make sure that the marketplace is competitive to make sure that we get paid for that food that we're raising to keep families healthy. I could get into the whole thing about healthcare and how food is medicine, but you guys know that. Bottom line is, if we watch what we put in our bodies, the chance for a healthier life, it goes right with that. I just want to conclude very quickly because I want to get to the questions. But from one farmer to another, I think it is critical that we work together, that we share information, that we empower one another to help bolster not only our individual economy, but rural economies generally in a way that makes sense for organic agriculture. Look, I think that this administration is going to do some things in climate change. I think organic agriculture needs a seat at the table to make sure that we're helping where we can, because quite frankly, there's a lot of things we're doing just because of the nature of the way we farm that helps control climate change. So as you're out there and you're lobbying folks that are in the Senate or in the House, just know that your input is valued and it's important, and you need to keep pushing for policies that help farmers across this country, and know that my door is always open. So thanks again for inviting me to speak. One other thing, just on a sidebar, that the NOSD rules that were put out, that quite frankly have been laying around now for 5, 6, 7 years. I just put out a letter this morning, as a matter of fact, to the Secretary of Agriculture, Bill Sack, and said we need to get these put into rule. We need them as an industry, and it's important that that happens. With that, I will turn it back to whoever wants to run the Q&A, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you so much, Senator. We do have some questions coming in, and so I'll go ahead and read those off to you. I'm Kate Mendenhall, the Executive Director, and if others have questions, please go ahead and put them into the chat. So first one, what do members of Congress need to know about organic? Are there any misconceptions that we should set them straight about?
Oh, wow, great question. I think what they need to know about is that forgive me for saying this, but it kind of shows where I come from, but they need to know that we're not a bunch of goofballs. That quite frankly, that we're interested in producing good food to feed the world. And we do it the way our grandfathers did it. And it's important we learn from previous generations, but oftentimes organic folks, and maybe it's because where I come from, and hell, I've been farming organically now for 30 some years, and I've still got neighbors that think I'm nuts. And we're not. We're just trying to do the right thing. We're trying to protect water. We're trying to build our soil. We're trying to make a living. And I think folks back here in Washington need to know that. We are also classified by other people who, may have an agenda of genetically modified foods, or may have an agenda of putting more inputs on your ground. That agenda is always going to be out there, because those folks that are pushing that agenda are making a lot of money off it. So I think it's just showing people that we're real, showing folks that we look at things from a very common sense perspective, I think is really important.
Thank you. What is your understanding of the Biden administration's knowledge and commitment to organic agriculture?
Look, I think and this is the way with everybody, we need to continue to be diligent on educating people about organic agriculture. You would think people would just know about it, but they don't. People are so removed from the farm right now, just generally speaking, that they've lost track of where food comes from, and how it's grown, and what's important in our foods, whether that's the nutritional value, or reducing inflammation, or whatever it might be. And so I just think that letting people know who we are is really important. So,
thank you. What are 3 things you would change in the next farm bill?
Oh boy. I would make sure that crop insurance works for a lot more crops, crops that quite frankly are less mainstream, crops that are important, part of a rotation that maybe not a lot of folks think about. I would approach the farm bill from a rural development standpoint, in what we can do to help put more people on the land, and what we could do to encourage rural communities to be able to grow and thrive. And then I would and I don't exactly know how to do this because I'm not a lawyer, but I would try to do something to reduce the consolidation. And maybe it revolves around, and consolidation is not only in agribusiness, but in production agriculture itself. I mean, I'll just tell you, I got a neighbor that I counted out the number of kids that I went to school with off the land he farms today. When I was going to school in the 70s, damn near 40 kids came off of the land because he's bought up that many of his neighbors. He's done a lot of that with a farm program that, quite frankly, was set up to keep small producers, family farmers in business, but now has been morphed into something that allows the big guys to get bigger and the small guys to have to sell out. So those are three things that I would take a better look at. By the way, probably none of them popular in the conventional agricultural world.
Thank you. I really appreciate that perspective. We have another question. What do you think about carbon markets? And do you think that the USDA should be involved in them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I just don't know enough about how they work to know how they work. And so what I would say is that it may be something that could work for folks in organic agriculture, but I'll also tell you that if you're able to put carbon in your soil, that means you're building your soil, and that's kind of like money in the bank for farmers if you got your soil built up. And so I don't know that you need to get paid for that, but hell, it depends on how the program works. Climate change is real. If we can do some things and organic agriculture can help, I certainly would take a look at it. Let's just put it that way.
Great. Let's see, we have quite a few coming in. Do you have any tips for us to really focus our message on keeping hydroponic production out of certified organic? We have so many certified organic farmers that continually rate this issue really high on our priority list, knowing that soil has always been the cornerstone of what makes organic organic. Do you have any perspectives you could share?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up today because I just read a news story. We have a thing in Montana called Growth Through Ag, and I just read a news story that they gave a $40,000 grant to a organic soil person who was converting to hydroponics. And I didn't even think that was organically certifiable. And I'm going to look, I get certified through the state of Montana. If in fact they're certifying hydroponics, I'm going to go find a certifier that doesn't, because that's bullshit. I'll just tell you that. I don't agree with that at all. And so folks will note, I mean, I'll make my opinion heard, and I think you guys need to make yours heard too, that this is not, and by the way, you got Nate on the phone. Nate, can you tell me, does the NOSB, have they authorized hydroponic organics? Not to put you on the spot.
Unfortunately, yes. And so hopefully it'll be coming up again, but as of now, it is allowed.
Well, hopefully you can use your clout to stop it. And it's crazy. I mean, it's just baloney, and that's nuts. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know what to say. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. I'll be honest with you. It's as artificial an environment as there is. And it's one of the problems I've got with quite frankly, chemical agriculture, is that they're using the soil is just a holder for the chemicals, and that's not healthy. It's certainly not sustainable. And hydroponics just takes that to another level.
Thank you. Appreciate your perspective on that issue. What tips would you have for organic farmers on being really effective advocates with policymakers? Not everyone can always make a trip to Washington, D.C. So if that's not possible, what is the best way to make an impact?
Yeah, so I don't think coming to Washington, D.C. is necessarily going to be a hell of a lot more effective than just getting on your computer and writing an email. And then if they don't answer your questions, writing another email until you get the answer to your question. The other thing that can be very, very helpful are letters to the editor. I'll tell you, I try to read every newspaper in the state of the Montana, the majors, letters to the editor. Your elected representatives, I guarantee you, they are paying attention to those. And I think can be a very effective way to communicate policy.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next question is about immigration. Can we get past the concept of guest workers being the basis of all farm worker programs? Organic farmers have shared with us that they want something that's more flexible than just H2A, that works for some farms, but the majority of farms find it too expensive and too limiting for their needs. What could you tell us about immigration?
Well, I would just say immigration is always a hot topic, but I think there's things that we can do to make it more workable. And look, you can get a hold of my office and tell me what you have in mind. And I would say that you can do this to everybody, regardless what state you're in. But truthfully, I'm talking to you, organic farmer, to the OFA's executive director. Let me know what you guys would like to see, and then we'll see if we can get it done in a bill. There is going to be a comprehensive immigration bill come out. Whether it passes or not, I can't say, but this could certainly be a part of that.
Great, thank you. Any thoughts on the new term for Secretary Vilsack?
Any thoughts? Organic farmer, we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of education to do to get him up to snuff on organic industry. I'll just tell you that. That's a fact. He's a nice guy, but he's very conventional thinker on agriculture. And I hope he proves me wrong on what I just said.
What should the organic community be doing to get more people of all backgrounds into organic farming and supporting organic farmers?
Well, I mean, I think one of the best things I have seen is a mentorship program that one of the organic farmers is doing in North Central Montana that is very, very effective about getting folks interested in organic agriculture and even into the business of production ag. I think that's helpful. The farm to market, what they call the food sales on the street, farmers markets are a great way to talk to consumers and really connect up close and talk about organics and the opportunities that are there to feed their family with organic agriculture. And I think anytime you can educate the consumers, you can move the needle on just about anything. And so those are a couple ways that I see out there that are particularly beneficial.
Another question is more of a personal one. What do you feel being an organic farmer has brought to you as a U.S. Senator? Has it given you a different perspective than your colleagues? And would you encourage other organic farmers to consider taking leadership roles in public office?
The last question I'll answer first. Yes, unequivocally. I think it's very, very important. And sometimes you can get elected to them, sometimes you can't. I got elected to the FSA committee before people knew I was an organic farmer. After they found out, they voted me off. Okay. So that's the nature of the beast, but get on those committees if you can. I think they're very, very, very helpful. What was the first part of the question?
How has your background in organic farming given you perspective as a senator?
Well, anytime you're involved in agriculture, period, things like livestock transportation, second nature. Things like how the farm program works and how it could be built better is second nature. But probably the best thing that organic agriculture does for me is my wife and I still farm the land. That means we don't hire anybody to do it. We do it. My wife can do anything I can do on the farm. Our son happens to be out there now. He's got asthma, but that aside, this is what keeps me sane in a very artificial world.
Thank you. One more question, and then we will let you go. We so appreciate your time. how would you suggest that we get more farmers or get all farmers more interested in soil building and good soil health?
Well, we got to make some influence on our land grant universities and on our research stations. I just think that that's where it all happens. If I look at my neighbors, if Montana State University says this is what you need to do because this is what we think will make you successful, they do it. And so we got to figure out some way to get those influences on those land grant universities. They're really the ones that are driving the bus, I believe, in agriculture.
Well, we so appreciate your time. We know you're a very busy man. It's been such an honor to hear your perspective on organic farming and to learn a little bit more about you and your farm. Everyone in the audience, you could just give a silent applause and thank you. We so appreciate it. And it makes us, I think, feel really proud to have an organic farmer representing not only Montana constituents, but organic farmers overall in Washington. So thank you so much.
I can't thank you guys enough. It's an incredible honor to be able to visit with you guys. Good luck in this growing season, and may you have just one of the best years ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It was so nice to see your faces here. It was so great to hear the message from Senator Jon Tester. I want to encourage those of you who are not yet members of Organic Farmers Association to please visit our website, organicfarmersassociation.org, and join. Whether you're a supporter, whether you're a certified organic farmer, or if you work for an organic farm organization, your voice is important. Organic farmers started the organic movement, and we strongly believe that organic farmers need to determine its future. By joining together in this national organic movement led by Organic Farmers Association is how we are going to achieve that. So join us and stay a member. We're really excited to hear your voice and to get involved and hear your policy priorities. So thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Good night.